After the
When I was a
divorce, you
kid,
ran to your
I feel
wife's
like you
house to
heard the
steal the dog.
thing, you heard the
But
term,
unexpectedly,
"Don't
you heard
cry."
the inner
You
thoughts
don't
of your
know.
aloof ice queen wife. Sniffle.
Sniffle.
Hubby wants the dog, but doesn't want me. He
When I was
even
a
wants to
kid,
divorce me.
I feel like you
Hubby
heard the
doesn't love me at
thing,
all
you heard the
anymore.
term,
If
"Don't
hubby
cry."
leaves today,
You don't
I'm going to
know.
go bungee jumping with a necktie from the ceiling fan. At this moment inside the courtroom, you looked at the woman sitting across from you with utter confusion. Did I just hear some weird voice? But the other party's eyes held nothing but frosty indifference. So, you tentatively asked a question. I'm usually the one taking care of Barnaby. After the divorce, let him stay with me. Hearing this, Serafina replied coldly. The house, the car, the savings. I can give them all up, but you can't have Barnaby. I don't want to live anymore. What am I going to do without hubby? Does he not like his cool, aloof lawyer wife anymore? Hubby changed his mind so fast. What kind of wife does he even like? Hearing these words, you were absolutely certain now. This was Serafina's inner voice. Instantly, the image of your high and mighty goddess wife completely shattered in your heart. Wait, who is this professional sad crybaby? Then you thought for a moment and said, regarding Barnaby, stop talking about Barnaby. That stupid dog. I can be your dog, too. I can even wear black thigh highs. Even if they get ripped, I don't care. Why don't you want me? Hearing this, the corner of your mouth suddenly twitched. Should we negotiate this in private? When Serafina heard this, a gleam of light instantly flashed in her eyes. But in the next second, she just gave a flat O, turned her head, packed her designer bag, and got ready to leave. Oh yeah, hubby doesn't want the dog anymore. That means I have a chance to be hubby's puppy. As long as hubby comes home with me today. No divorce. As long as hubby likes it, I'm willing to do whatever hubby wants. Even bringing out the leather belt isn't completely off the table. Bonk. Let's see how that stupid dog Barnaby competes with me now. Just like that, the two of you walked out of the courthouse together. However, after taking just a few steps, a sudden exclamation reached your ears. You saw Serafina currently limping. I sprained my ankle. Her voice was slightly choked with sobs. Serafina, you are an absolute genius. You actually had the guts to pull this off. Divorce. Divorce is impossible in this lifetime. Twisting my ankle in these 8 centimeters heels. It's definitely going to swell up instantly. When we get home, I can wear my black stockings and let hubby massage my little feet. Hubby is such a massive softie. There's no way he'll ignore me. Looking at Serafina's self-directed drama in front of you, the corner of your eye couldn't help but twitch violently. Sure enough, you completely misunderstood this elite legal beauty. A moment later, you still crouched down, gently held her ankle, and carefully inspected it. It's a bit red and swollen. Let me help you to the car. What is this help nonsense? I don't want to be helped. I want hubby to carry me. A princess carry. For some reason, the moment you heard this, you completely lost your composure and chuckled. Hubby looks so handsome when he smiles. But why is hubby laughing when he sees my sprained ankle? Whatever. To win a smile from hubby, I'm willing to sprain my ankle 10 times. 100 times wouldn't be out of the question either. In the end, feeling utterly helpless, you picked Serafina up in your arms and she leaned blankly against your chest. Instantly, her heart started pounding like a drum. Her ears also involuntarily began to burn. Ah, hubby is actually carrying me. Hubby's chest feels so safe and secure. This overwhelming masculine aura. It's practically a foul. A beautiful wife simply cannot withstand this kind of temptation. After returning home, you watched Serafina hobble her way into the bedroom. I'm going to put on hubby's favorite black stockings. Then throw on a sexy little nightgown. I'm going to take hubby down right here, right now. Watching her back, you got this weird disabled but determined vibe from her. After waiting for a while, Serafina walked out of the room. It seemed she had just taken a shower. She was wearing a white silk night dress. Her pair of round, perfectly straight thighs were wrapped in sheer black stockings. Exceptionally gorgeous. Serafina, you can do this. This set of armor is absolutely flawless. Mission, conquer hubby today. Why isn't hubby coming over to rub my feet and then directly tackle me onto the sofa? Hearing this, you pursed your lips. I'll go get the medicinal oil for you. Come sit down. Okay. Serafina replied with a completely cold, indifferent face. 2.5 minutes later, you carefully placed her foot wrapped in the black stocking onto your lap, then gently placed an ice pack on her ankle. Hubby is so good. Hubby's touch feels so amazing. Why isn't hubby tackling me onto the sofa right now? Am I not pretty enough today? Hearing this, you sighed silently in your heart. Fortunately, after Barnaby the dog saw Mom and Dad, he ran over to cause a ruckus, destroying the mood. He was bouncing up and down nonstop, looking incredibly excited. Seeing this, you freed up your other hand, rubbed his furry dog head, and said, "Be a good boy. Stop messing around. Mommy is hurt." It seemed Barnaby actually understood. Instantly, his ears drooped down. His big eyes looked innocently at Serafina. Then, he gently nudged her as if trying to comfort her. "Good boy. Come let Mommy give you a hug." Saying this, Serafina pulled Barnaby into her arms, gently petting his head. However, Serafina's face was secretly gritting its teeth. "You stupid dog. What are you doing here, ruining my vibe?" Before you knew it, you had rubbed her foot for a while and noticed it looked much better. Then you pulled your phone out of your pocket, checked the time, and said, "I have a class reunion dinner tonight. I have to go, otherwise I'll get stuck in traffic later." "Okay," Serafina replied, still as frighteningly frosty as ever. But in the next second, sure enough, that stupid dog. Barnaby and I, he chose the dog. His classmates and I, he chose his classmates. He's not even staying to eat dinner with me. Then he must be a massive jerk. Your wife is super pretty. You know, it's very dangerous for a pretty girl to be home alone. After returning home, your stomach was full of alcohol. With a groggy head, you sat down deeply and thought on the sofa. Are we still getting this divorce? Previously, it clearly felt like there was zero affection between the two of you, which was why you suggested the divorce in the first place. But now it seems she wasn't completely devoid of feelings for you. Before you could figure it out, you heard the creak of the door opening. Then Serafina slowly walked over and sat down beside you. You saw she had changed into another pink nightgown. It highlighted her figure extraordinarily well. Paired with the black stockings, she looked like an absolute earthly temptress. Hubby definitely didn't like the previous outfit. This one should do the trick, right? Hubby, hurry up and come play fun games with me. Seeing this, you tilted your head, your eyes stunned for a few seconds. What's wrong? I want to watch TV. Serafina said with a flat, emotionless face. Then she reached for the remote. But in the next second, you were completely silenced because she grabbed the air conditioner remote. After your reminder, Serafina took a closer look and finally realized her mistake. So freaking embarrassing. Ripped my dignity before the battle even began. I'm trying to be seductive here. Stop shaking hands. Keep it together, Serafina. Despite this, she still pretended to be completely calm and said, "It's so hot I was turning on the AC." Saying this, Serafina started gently fanning herself with her hand and even casually tugged at her collar, looking like she was genuinely burning up. However, you kept your eyes straight ahead, not saying a word. But Serafina was internally screaming and complaining. Why isn't he looking at me? Don't boys all like curvy figures? But why doesn't hubby like them? Does he want me to turn into an airport runway? Hearing this, your line of sight uncontrollably shifted a millimeter. Your Adam's apple also bobbed slightly. Despite watching her perform 100 fake alluring moves, you still maintained your rationality and said, "I'm going to sleep. You watch TV." Seeing you stand up to leave, Serafina instantly got a bit anxious. Caspian. Hearing her voice, you turned around in confusion. What's wrong? You're a bad dog just like Barnaby. Such a big wife sitting right here. Why aren't you picking her up and taking her back to the bedroom? Nothing. Good night. After speaking, Serafina got up and went back to her own bedroom, leaving you with a cold, indifferent back view. Back in her room, Serafina threw herself directly onto the bed and buried her head deeply into the pillows. At this moment, an unavoidable sense of defeat rose within her. In a daze, she seemed to realize something. Then, she sat up and squeezed her own figure. They're obviously very soft and very comfortable. On the other side, you were lying flat on your bed, staring at the ceiling. Then, you raised your hand and grabbed the empty air a couple of times. But the next second, you closed your eyes, put your hand down, and instantly smacked your own forehead. You could say the mental imagery was very vivid. The next day, you woke up early to study, preparing to pass the legal profession qualification exam. But before you could even read a few lines, you heard some weird muffled whimpering noises. My hubby would never cheat on me. I still want to give hubby little babies. Hearing the commotion from the next room, you could only stare blankly at the wall, having no idea what Serafina was doing now. Meanwhile, Serafina was sitting in her chair with her little feet propped up, looking at various divorce case files on her tablet screen. In her heart, she absolutely did not want a divorce, so she could only look for experience in case files. Soon, she found a bizarre case. The defendant forced the plaintiff to sleep with his friends. The plaintiff couldn't take the humiliation and filed for divorce. Seeing this, Serafina connected it to herself and complained in her heart, "Hubby, please don't treat me like this. My body belongs only to hubby alone." Then she continued scrolling to the next case. The female party filed for divorce, accusing the male party of having no capability in bed. Their married life was completely disharmonious. Instantly, Serafina froze. Then her rosy lips smacked together, recalling the events. Could it be that hubby is actually incapable? Is that why our married life isn't harmonious and that's why he wants to divorce me? That must be it. I was clearly dressed like that yesterday and hubby didn't even prep his sniper rifle. It's either I have absolutely zero charm or hubby's hardware has a glitch. But I am clearly a woman with overflowing charm. On the other side of the wall, you heard Serafina's voice loud and clear, facing this glaringly naked slander. You were so furious, you instantly slammed your book shut. There was absolutely no way to study like this. So you just stood up, planning to go to the kitchen to make yourself something to eat. However, Serafina was still scrolling through cases. A domestic abuser. How could a husband beat his wife? Total trash. So utterly disgusting. But if it was hubby abusing me, doesn't seem totally unacceptable either, though. Wouldn't a leather belt hurt a lot? What about candles? Hearing this, the hand holding your spatula paused midair. What kind of unhinged wild inner dialogue is this? Where exactly did your former aloof elegant wife go? Not long after you finished cooking the dishes. After hesitating for a moment, you still knocked on Serafina's door and said, "Time to eat." Soon, a faint, "Okay," replied from inside the room. But in the exact next second, a wildly joyous inner voice rang out. "It's been so long since I ate with hubby. Hubby's cooking is the most delicious in the world. I am the happiest little puppy ever." Hearing this, you glanced at Barnaby, who was currently showing his belly in the living room. Your mood instantly became incredibly complicated. During the meal, if it weren't for the absolute racket echoing in your ears, you genuinely wouldn't have known that Serafina, who always looked like a refined lady from a noble family, had so much inner drama. Ah, it smells so good. So good. How is my hubby this amazing? He's a gentleman in the streets and a master chef in the kitchen. He even looks insanely handsome wearing an apron. I love it. I have completely surrendered beneath hubby's apron. Bark for hubby. Woof. Woof. Slurp. Slurp. Hearing this, you almost completely lost your composure. Ah, hubby looks so good when he smiles. Hubby, I don't want to eat food anymore. I want to eat you. Seriously, where on earth is she getting all this stuff in her brain? A moment later, you said faintly, "After dinner, let's talk." Talk about what? I absolutely do not want to talk with hubby. The last time we talked, it was about divorce. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to. I'm going to the law firm to work overtime right this second. Thinking of this, Serafina rapidly stood up and said the law firm has some business. So seeing her stand up and try to run away instantly, a vein popped on your forehead. You couldn't help but raise your voice and said, "You stop right there." But the next second you realized you might have overreacted. It was mostly because hearing the constant chirping in her heart was making your head feel like it was going to explode. A flash of grievance passed through Serafina's bright eyes. Fine then. I'll go to work later. Wow. Hubby is so mean. He actually yelled at me. Hubby doesn't love me at all anymore. Still can't escape it. Whatever. Even if I die, I absolutely refuse to divorce hubby. I knew it. I should have worn an even sexier nightgown yesterday. Hearing this, you silently sighed in your heart. Who could possibly understand this? The aloof ice goddess had turned into a whiny, clingy baby. This contrast was insane. Finally, your tone softened. Forget it. We'll talk when you get back tonight. I'm literally about to cry. We still have to talk. Then Serafina began to eat her food with a pitiful, wronged expression. You never noticed her acting skills were this terrible before. Such obvious little micro-expressions. How did you not notice them in the past? Though she did seem kind of cute. After eating, you started feeding Barnaby while Barnaby wagged his tail nonstop and occasionally licked your hand. Seeing this, Serafina instantly got upset. Stupid dog. I haven't even gotten to lick his hand yet. I can be hubby's dog, too. Not just a dog. I can even be a fox. I haven't even worn the fox tail my bestie gave me yet. Hearing this, you stumbled and almost face-planted right into the dog bed, while the real Serafina let her food go cold. Her eyes just blankly staring at you, teasing the dog on the sofa. Caspian, you damn charming bastard. I can't escape you at all. It's been like this ever since we were kids. Just shut his mouth. That way, he won't have to go out tonight. I won't leave the house. I'll skip work. I want to do adult things in broad daylight. In a trance, you put Barnaby down and couldn't help but turn to look at Serafina. Yet, her face showed absolutely no abnormality whatsoever. She even radiated a sense of noble elegance. Soon, you couldn't help but say, "It's best if you come home on time tonight. If it's not something exceptionally important, please push it back." Then, with her back facing you, she gave a cool hum and nodded. Damn it. It'd be best to run back to my parents' house to hide from the storm. Don't let him speak again. But if I do that, I won't get to see my handsome hubby anymore. So stressed. Whatever. I'll just come home. I'll just wing it when the time comes. Anyway, if hubby dares to bring up divorce again, I'll just headbutt a wall and end myself. I'll use my death to prove my loyalty. With a click sound, you stared blankly as the room door closed in front of you. How could her mental activities be so dense and rapid fire? You shook your head with a helpless laugh, then went back to the study to earnestly prepare for your exams. When dinner time rolled around, Serafina deliberately ate incredibly slowly. You watched her clumsy acting because she was holding her chopsticks, picking up grains of rice one by one and counting them. Seeing this, you stated helplessly, "Come over here when you're done eating." So Serafina looked at you with an expressionless face while her heart was feeling extremely anxious. Ah, so annoying. It's this serious atmosphere again. Why can't it be sweet and fluffy? I want kisses, hugs, and to be spun around in the air. Not talk about divorce. Thinking of this, Serafina hugged Barnaby, trying to find some sense of security, but her face remained cold. However, just as you were about to speak, her phone ringtone suddenly went off. Seeing this, Serafina looked down at the caller ID. Her good bestie Alva. My savior has finally arrived. Immediately after, Serafina said in a chilly tone, "I'll take this call first." Then Serafina decisively pressed the answer button. "Hello, Alva. What's wrong?" "Ah, your husband got into a car accident. It's very serious." "Okay, I'll come find you right now." After hanging up the phone, she looked at you with an apologetic face. "I'll stall for as long as I can." "Hubby, please don't pressure me anymore. If you pressure me again, I'll go hang myself." Following that, she hurriedly put on her shoes, grabbed her bag, and rushed out the door, leaving you looking completely dumbfounded, frozen in place. Secretly complaining. You two sure are great besties. Her husband gets into a car accident exactly when she needs an excuse to escape. Clearly, Serafina absolutely did not want to talk today. After coming out, Serafina went straight to the parking lot and found her Panamera. Then, she sat in the driver's seat, looking out the window in confusion. Sitting there, she eventually fell asleep in the car. When she woke up, it was already 2:30 in the morning. Thinking that you must be asleep by now, she went back home, quickly kicked off her high heels, and tiptoed barefoot into the room. Then she directly threw herself onto the bed, burying her head under the pillows. Soon, she seemed to think of something and started typing furiously, sending messages to her bestie. Alva said, "Caspian really likes my type of girl. Curvy, not overly intellectual, easy to sweep off her feet. So why does he still want to divorce me?" The other party replied instantly, "I told you a long time ago. It's best not to do a flash marriage. There are plenty of men who like you. Why hang yourself on this single tree?" Hearing this, Serafina poked her screen forcefully. "I only want him. He promised me. He just forgot. That's all. It happened when we were very little. It's normal to forget. I believe he will definitely remember." "Oh, right. I wore the little nightgown you recommended last night. I even changed into 2 different sets. He had absolutely no reaction. Hearing this, Alva immediately replied, "You went that far and he still had no reaction? Could it be that his hardware is glitchy? Don't you dare slander my hubby." After sending this message, Serafina ignored her. Could it be that he really is malfunctioning? Wow, my poor hubby. But what she didn't know was you actually hadn't slept at all. Because you were interrupted during the day and didn't review properly. You were still up furiously studying and writing. But just now, Serafina's inner voice made you break character a little. How did I suddenly become glitchy? However, Serafina's inner monologue continued. No matter what's wrong with hubby, I will never abandon hubby, even if I have to become his personal toy. Having made up her mind, Serafina exhaled a fragrant breath of hot air, covering herself with the blanket, her eyes as determined as if she were going into battle. But you in the next room just wanted to curse. The next day, because you had a class at the university, you woke up quite early. Coincidentally, Serafina was up just as early as you today. You saw her wearing an exquisite professional business suit, exuding a mature, aesthetic, cool older sister vibe. Then she took bread and milk out of the fridge and handed them to you. "Good morning. I'm going to your university to give an open lecture today. Let's go together." She greeted you with a flat tone, showing a polite, professional smile. "I get to go to class with hubby. Today's roleplay is teacher and student." While you just acted completely deaf to it and responded with a smile. "Good morning. Let's go." After all, listening to a successful senior alumni give a lecture on legal cases was very normal. So, you went out together and arrived at the underground parking garage. Then Serafina opened the car door and sat in the driver's seat, saying, "Hubby, could you please go to the trunk and get my flat shoes for me?" Perhaps because you had listened to her inner voice so much, you were gradually getting used to Serafina's slightly more intimate greetings. You quickly walked to the trunk, grabbed the flat shoes, and just as you were about to put them on the ground, you saw Serafina had kicked off her high heels to the side. She smoothly stretched a pair of beautiful feet hovering in the air, her tender little toes wrapped in black nylon. Hubby, come play with my little feet." Seeming to notice your gaze, her expression remained icy cold. "Hubby seems to like my little feet. He's been staring at them non-stop." Hearing this, you said with a hint of resignation, "How about I drive instead?" However, Serafina just directly took the shoes and put them on herself. "Why isn't hubby coming over to play with my little feet? You can play with them however you want." Finally, you sighed, walked to the other side, and hurriedly got in the car. Half an hour later, you arrived at the university, said goodbye, and went your separate ways. After Serafina finished her open lecture, just as she walked into the parking garage, she received a phone call from Alva. Alva said she wanted to take her to a good place where there was a secret recipe to make Caspian change his mind. This sentence was like a ray of dawn shining into Serafina's heart. However, just as she wanted to ask what it was, her good bestie hung up the phone. So, Serafina, carrying 3 parts confusion, 3 parts curiosity, and 4 parts anticipation, arrived at the agreed-upon location. Not long after, Alva arrived wearing a white lab coat. But she wasn't a doctor. She was a female PhD student in the chemistry department. Considered your fellow alumni. Upon meeting, Alva didn't even say hello and just mysteriously dragged Serafina into a building. Soon they arrived in front of a pile of chemistry lab equipment. Seeing this scene, Serafina maintained a calm face on the outside, but internally she was panicking hard. "Alva, isn't this a bit sketchy? Didn't you say you wore 2 sets of sexy nightgowns and he still had no reaction? I personally adjusted and diluted this. This stuff is usually used to help elephants breed. If it works on elephants, it will definitely work on your husband." After speaking, Alva shook the test tube in her hand, looking full of scientific exploratory spirit. While Serafina beside her still looked hesitant, seeing this, Alva immediately said, "Then I won't care about you anymore, okay? If your husband divorces you, there's nothing I can do." After saying this, she even put on a look of great pity. Finally, Serafina gritted her teeth. "Fine, let's go check it out. I absolutely refuse to divorce hubby." By the time you finished classes and got home, it was already 7 o'clock. When you pushed open the door, you saw Serafina holding Barnaby, teasing him with a toy. The scene was unexpectedly harmonious. "You're back. The moment Serafina saw you, her eyes lit up. Hubby is finally back. Tonight, I'm going to let hubby witness my new equipment. Hearing this, you felt a wave of speechlessness. What kind of crazy scheme is she cooking up now? But you felt like you were already used to Serafina's shocking inner statements. Then you calmly nodded in response, changed into your slippers, and said you were going to take a shower first. But as Serafina watched your back gradually disappear behind the door, she immediately charged into her bedroom. Which set should I wear? This one? It seems a bit too scandalous. The skirt is way too short. This is way too obvious, isn't it? I'll stick with this one. Meanwhile, in the bathroom, you were covered in bubbles, feeling the icy cold water run down your spine. It was hard to describe the feeling. What exactly is stuffed inside her head all day? A moment later, you finished your shower and had just walked back to your bedroom. When you heard a knock on the door, even though you were very hesitant, you still opened the door. You saw Serafina wearing a bathrobe, handing over a glass of milk. Drink a glass of milk. Hearing this, you looked at the polite smile Serafina was displaying with absolute horror because you had already heard another terrifying inner voice. Is the potion Alva gave me actually reliable? Alva said 10 milliliters is enough to make an elephant go into heat. Pouring in 1 milliliter should be enough, right? This sentence directly shattered your mental defenses. Holy crap. Taking stuff meant for elephants and giving it to me to drink. Are you trying to kill me? Instantly, you said with a very serious tone, Serafina, we need to talk right now. As soon as these words came out, Serafina's soft body flinched in shock. Instantly, her head drooped down. Her heart felt like dead ashes. She only felt her eyes swell up, her vision starting to blur. Finally, Serafina completely broke down. I don't want to talk. After her words fell, you felt the world suddenly go quiet, and you stared intently at the other person for a long time without speaking. For some reason, it felt like you truly didn't understand her enough anymore. Seeming to notice your strange expression, Serafina immediately pulled her bathrobe tighter, finally gathering her courage. But with a tiny voice, she said, I just want to save our failing marriage. Caspian, I don't want to divorce. Hearing this, you said with some astonishment. But why do you want to save it? Because we clearly promised to be together for a lifetime. Yet you can't remember me at all. However, Serafina didn't speak this inner thought out loud. In a daze, Serafina's eyes turned red. The moment she raised her head, beads of tears instantly slid down. Because Caspian, you are a massive idiot. Hearing this, you froze. You didn't expect Serafina to have such a sudden, intense reaction. But judging by what she meant, you and she actually knew each other from way before. Right at this moment, you heard Serafina's inner voice again. Back in the orphanage, you insisted on kisses every single day. You even said you wanted to play the bride and groom game with me for the rest of your life. Do I seriously have to be the girl who brings this kind of stuff up first? Thinking of this, she rubbed the corner of her eyes with the back of her hand and suddenly gritted her teeth and spoke. You have amnesia. The next second, ripples washed over your vision, making you feel a bit dazed. A segment of past memories seemed to float up from the water in the small playground of the orphanage. A slightly older girl stood next to the sandbox, silently watching the little boy sitting inside the sandbox. Big sister clearly said she would marry me. Then you are my bride. Why can't I have a kiss? You saw the boy throwing a tantrum and rolling around, his body already covered in gray dust. But facing this scene, the older girl was already totally used to it. Then she gently crouched down and patted the boy's head, pouting her little mouth, seriously, because we're just playing house. However, the little boy couldn't listen at all. I don't care. I don't care. You are my bride. I demand a kiss. Hearing this, the older girl's fair, tender cheeks flushed red. Even though she was young, her elegant aura was already outstanding from childhood. In contrast, the little boy looked exactly like a kid his age should, puffing and puffing. If you don't let me kiss you, then I won't eat dinner anymore. Then the older girl just said, oh, then are you going to starve yourself to death? Hearing this, the boy nodded. Yes, I'm going to starve myself to death, so you won't have a groom anymore. Hearing this, the girl burst out laughing. Then she poked the boy's forehead with her tiny hand. Then, I don't care about you anymore. I'm going to go eat. Saying this, the soft little figure stood up and got ready to leave. Seeing this, the little boy cried even louder. But while crying, he picked himself up out of the sandbox, puffing and puffing as he ran toward the little girl. Then he obediently stuffed one small hand into the older girl's hand, using his other hand to wipe the corners of his eyes, looking incredibly reckless but pitifully cute. "Stop crying, okay?" The older girl's soft little hand held little Caspian, being incredibly gentle. However, the boy didn't care, acting as if he had suffered a massive grievance, truly acting like a tyrant. Finally, the girl looked helpless. She could only tilt her head and bend down, pressing her small lips against the little boy's dusty cheek. Then the girl gently cupped the little boy's face. "Can we go eat now?" Hearing this, the boy nodded obediently. "I want another one next time. I want to play the bride and groom game with Big Sister for my whole life." While the girl didn't answer, her eyes just looked straight ahead, dazzling and bright, as if holding all the beauty in the world. But in her heart, this promise was already silently accepted. Until one day, the older sister's biological parents found her. When she left, she promised the boy she would definitely come back to find him. Fast forward to later when you were in your first year of grad school. The two of you were reintroduced through a good friend. But up until now, you didn't know that her cousin Thorn was exactly your college roommate and good friend. At the time, he hyped his cousin up to the heavens, saying she was perfect in every way. An aloof, long-legged legal beauty who loved wearing black stockings. However, you didn't believe a single word of it. But the day you finally met, you were completely captivated by Serafina, mostly because she was just too beautiful, like an actual female celebrity. Her only flaw was that her personality was a bit cold. But thinking that excellent people all have their own quirks, you managed to accept it. Later on your second meeting, Serafina asked if you could just get your marriage certificates first and cultivate feelings after marriage. These words made you feel like you had run into a marriage scammer, but you were completely broke and still a student. What could she possibly scam out of you? So, you only hesitated for one day. The next day, the two of you went and got your marriage certificates. Snapping back to reality, you suddenly covered your forehead. Serafina was exactly 6 years older than you. There's no way it's this much of a coincidence, right? Instantly, you stood frozen in place, utterly awkward, not knowing what to do. At this moment, Serafina was standing at the door, still holding the milk. Not knowing if it was because she had been standing too long. Her foot started to hurt again. You saw her body leaning slightly. "My foot hurts, but my heart hurts more. I want to die." And you also noticed her discomfort. Then you looked down at her ankle. It seemed to be swelling up again. "How about I help you to the sofa first?" Hearing this, Serafina nodded grievously. Just like that, the two of you came to the sofa and sat down. Then, Serafina propped up her little foot, her red, tender lips pouting slightly. Following that, you took out the medicinal oil and shook it in front of her. "Do you need me to help?" Serafina lowered her head and didn't speak, but she directly shoved her little foot into your lap. Hubby is a massive jerk. Seeing her sullen appearance, you inexplicably felt that she was kind of cute, especially since you could hear her inner voice and see her two-faced attitude. However, when you grasped Serafina's little foot, seeing that her previously recovering foot was red and swollen again, an unexpected trace of heartache rose within you. "Don't wear high heels tomorrow." "Oh, okay," Serafina answered softly. Then she suddenly raised her head and met your gaze. Exactly. Instantly, her face turned like a fully ripe red apple, blushing all the way from her cheeks to the base of her ears. She subconsciously tried to pull her little foot back inwards, but it was quickly grabbed by your hand. "Stop squirming." Finally, Serafina had no choice but to obediently nod and stop moving. But her eyes began to dodge around in a panic. "Ah, I'm going to die. Bad guy. Staring at me like that, I really can't take it. This is seduction. Red-hot, naked seduction. You're using this to tempt an elite legal beauty. What kind of elite legal beauty can withstand this kind of temptation?" Hearing these inner thoughts, although you really wanted to laugh, you still maintained your composure from start to finish, rubbing the oil on Serafina. But just as you were trying your hardest to control your facial expressions, suddenly Serafina pushed the milk right in front of you. "Hurry up and drink. I want to go on maternity leave." As soon as she said this, it made the corner of your mouth twitch uncontrollably. You quickly stated that you don't like drinking milk. Seeing this, Serafina immediately panicked. "If you don't drink it, how am I supposed to go on maternity leave?" Then she hurriedly said, drinking milk helps with sleep. Seeing her refuse to let it go, you immediately moved Seraphina's leg away, getting ready to stand up and bail. However, the next second, a snow-white little hand quickly grabbed your arm and gripped it quite hard. As you turned your head to look, you saw Seraphina lightly biting her lip. Her pair of bright peach blossom eyes were slightly downcast, giving off a somewhat pitiful, vulnerable vibe. Drink it, please. Hubby, this is good for you to drink. The girl's voice lacked its usual coldness and instead had a few more drawn-out syllables that sounded like whining. Hearing this, you coughed awkwardly twice and hurriedly shifted your gaze. But unexpectedly, Seraphina directly pushed the milk in front of your face and said, Hubby, let me feed it to you. For some reason, this scenario made you associated with the vibe of feeding poison to a dying man. It scared you so much you quickly dodged. No, it's fine. I'm not drinking it. But you wanted to drink milk before. After speaking, Seraphina pouted her little mouth, her face showing a pitiful, wronged expression. Hubby is a bad guy, refusing to drink my milk. No way. I absolutely must make Hubby drink it today. Finally, you had no choice but to say helplessly, do you really want to know why? Instantly, Seraphina felt inexplicably guilty when asked. But you didn't care about her reaction. Your hand reached directly towards Seraphina's waist. Ah, Hubby is touching me. This is way too sudden, isn't it? At this moment, the blush that had already faded from Seraphina instantly started spreading from her neck again. But just as she was immersed in her fantasies, you gently patted her bathrobe pocket twice and pulled out a small bottle carrying an ambiguous aura. Then you didn't say a word. You just held the bottle, staring at her with calm eyes, waiting for her explanation. However, the moment she saw the bottle, her face grew even redder, looking no different from a fully boiled shrimp. Following that, she dropped a sentence. Good night, Maka Paka, and rapidly limped and ran back to her bedroom. Now I really want to croak. Hearing her internal roar, you couldn't help but let an imperceptible smile slip onto the corners of your mouth. While Seraphina, back in her bedroom, was currently rolling around like crazy on her bed, feeling her entire body burning out. I'm dying of embarrassment. I don't want to live anymore. Not only did her drugging scheme fail, but she was also caught red-handed. Thinking of this, Seraphina buried her head deeply into her pillows, looking utterly devoid of the will to live. The next morning, you yawned and walked out of the bedroom, sporting massive panda eyes. This was all thanks to Seraphina next door, who forced you to listen to a woman's stand-up comedy show all night long. Half an hour later, just as you finished making breakfast, you saw Seraphina come out. You saw her wearing rimless glasses today. Faintly, you could see the dark circles under her eyes. Even her foundation couldn't cover them. Seeing this, you inexplicably felt a bit of heartache. Then you sincerely invited her to eat breakfast together. However, Seraphina's eyes kept dodging you. Too embarrassing. Hubby, please. Please don't settle the score from yesterday. If he does, I will literally die of social anxiety on the spot. Following that, she quickly grabbed a pair of flat shoes from the shoe cabinet and said, no time for breakfast. I have to leave for work. Bye-bye. Oh, okay. Be safe. Seraphina gently nodded her head, then rapidly rushed out the door without looking back. Watching her retreating back, for some reason, you couldn't help but feel she was a bit cute. After arriving at the university, you patted Thorn's shoulder from the desk behind him and said, what kind of nonsense did you spout to your cousin? Seeing Thorn turn around with a face full of confusion, you continued with a fake smile. Since when did I like aloof goddesses and black stocking legal beauties? You said it yourself back then. A pale, beautiful, aloof goddess. A gorgeous woman who loves wearing black stockings. I reported it to my cousin exactly word for word. That was clearly just me talking smack with the boys. You also said you like doctor ladies with curvy figures and tiny waists, preferably the kind that wears black stockings under their scrubs. Should I go tell your ideal type to your wife then? Saying this, you reached into your pocket for your phone. Seeing this, Thorn quickly grabbed your hand. No, bro. I was wrong. It was just a slip of the tongue back then. I apologize. Just call me Godfather and we'll let this slide. Finally, Thorn had no choice but to admit defeat and call you Godfather. But he quickly seemed to realize something. I just called you Godfather. So, what should my cousin call you now, Daddy? The moment those words came out, you realized it sounded wrong. Then you and Thorn exchanged a look and smiled, decisively throwing up a middle finger to your good bro. Seeing this, Thorn twitched his mouth. He was clearly the one being taken advantage of. By the time it was 6 p.m., you had finished classes and returned home, but the house was completely empty. Clearly, Serafina hadn't returned yet. Then, you pulled your phone out of your pocket and opened the very brief chat interface with Serafina. Coming home for dinner? The reply came very quickly. No, still have to work overtime. Finally, you had no choice but to put down your phone, thinking about what you should eat later. On the other side, Serafina quietly closed her office door, used a knife to gently slice open a mysterious package. Then she somewhat embarrassedly pulled the item out and held it up against her neck. Wait, what the hell kind of garbage did Elvira recommend this time? By the time Serafina returned home, she saw the lights in your room were already off. Only then did she carry a box and tiptoed back to her room. Then she opened the box, took out a prop, snapped a picture, and sent it to Elvira. What the hell is this dog collar? And Elvira replied with a wicked smirk emoji. That's the item I normally use to spice up time with my husband, but it's so embarrassing. After sending this message, Serafina embarrassedly laid on her bed and buried herself in her blanket, her bright, gentle eyes staring at the phone screen. After a few seconds of silence, a new message arrived. When it comes to stuff between men and women, where does embarrassment even come from? Besides, what's wrong with being a little puppy? The moment Serafina saw this message, she started rolling around on her bed in embarrassment. I don't even know what you're talking about. A while later, another message came through. Relax, relax. This piece of equipment is absolutely foolproof. In that split second, Serafina's beautiful peach blossom eyes lit up. If it's foolproof, then she looked at the equipment and happily fantasized about a few scenarios. The next day was the weekend. Serafina woke up very early as usual. Just as she was getting ready to handle some work stuff, you knocked on her door. The cleaning lady is here to clean. Yours is the only room left. Hearing this, Serafina still replied with an icy okay. Then she opened her door. Carrying her laptop, she came to the living room to work while you sat quietly on the sofa beside her reading a book. But right at this moment, you were interrupted by a voice. Ma'am, I took the dog collar out for you. It's not sanitary to leave this kind of thing in the bedroom. Oh, okay. Serafina answered without even lifting her head. But soon, her entire body tensed up. Wait, something's wrong. Don't bring it out. Wait. The busy and confused Serafina immediately stood up trying to stop the cleaning lady. But the cleaning lady was moving at lightning speed. She directly and calmly tossed the dog chain into Barnaby's bed, then went back into the room to continue cleaning. Meanwhile, Barnaby looked utterly bewildered. Such a tiny body for such a massive collar. Seeing this scene, you also froze on the spot, the corner of your eye twitching uncontrollably like crazy. What the hell is this thing? The sizing is obviously way off. Seeming to notice your weird expression, Serafina froze directly in place, her face blushing furiously, her brain undergoing a massive bombardment. Ah, I'm going to croak. I cannot live through this. This is way too embarrassing. At this moment, you had no idea what Serafina's inner voice actually meant. But thankfully, she continued explaining to herself. This kind of thing is obviously only meant to be used by hubby and me during intimate time. Why did the cleaning lady bring this out? I'm docking her pay. Hearing this, you stood up, walked over to the dog bed, and gently picked it up. Instantly, you understood the truth. Even though you didn't quite understand your wife's hobbies, you mainly just wanted to respect them. However, in the next second, Serafina quickly ran over and snatched it out of your hands. Hubby holding the collar looked so incredibly hot. Seeming a bit guilty, she stuttered out an explanation. This dog collar seems to have been bought a size too big. Hubby, please don't look at me like that. I'm seriously going to die of embarrassment. So, you had no choice but to awkwardly shift your gaze. Seeing this, Serafina's inner voice gradually turned wild again. I want to wear that, kneel directly on the floor, and call him master. Just thinking about it makes me flustered. Ah, Serafina, you are such a pervert. But if it's hubby, it's not totally out of the question. In a daze, an uncontrollable image suddenly popped into your head. Her kneeling on the floor with that thing she bought hanging around her pale neck, her delicate body stretched out alluringly. her beautiful face written full of tender affection, her mouth calling out to you bit by bit. Thinking of this, your gaze couldn't help but shift downward, and your Adam's apple bobbed along with it. The size is wrong. I'll return it later. Saying this, the blushing Serafina held the collar and quickly ran back to her room to hide it carefully. When dinner time arrived, after you finished cooking, you knocked on Serafina's door. Time to eat. Oh, okay. Soon, a flat voice came from inside the door. It's okay. It's okay. Once you lose your face enough times, you get used to it. I still have to eat dinner with hubby. Hearing two completely different voices, you couldn't help but let out a smile, then turned and went to the dining room. Following that, Serafina walked out of the room, but her eyes were dodging yours. Wow, it's all my fault for being so careless. I don't dare to look at hubby. Hubby won't think I'm super weird, right? Just like that, on the surface, the two of you ate very quietly. But in reality, you felt like you were listening to a stand-up comedy show. But honestly speaking, this version of her was actually quite cute. Clearly having so much to say in her heart, yet presenting herself as graceful and elegant on the outside. After eating, you caught Barnaby, ready to give him a nice fragrant bath. But Barnaby fiercely resisted, wiggling around non-stop, his mouth still barking, woof, woof, woof. You completely ignored his reactions and just forced him into the tub. However, this scene falling into Serafina's eyes instantly ignited a psychology of jealousy in her. Why isn't hubby helping me wash and get fragrant? I want hubby to wash me, too. I definitely wouldn't bark. I am super obedient. Hearing this, your hands holding Barnaby trembled, and the corner of your mouth twitched wildly out of control. The next day, you woke up and had just walked out of the bedroom when you noticed something was slightly wrong. Normally at this time, Barnaby would happily pounce on you, looking at you with eyes full of passionate enthusiasm, signaling you to pet his doggy head. But today, he was lying listlessly in his bed, sneezing occasionally, just whining weakly, his tail barely even wagging. Seeing this scene, your heart instantly tightened. You hurried over and picked the dog up, then gently knocked on Serafina's door. Barnaby is sick. It's probably a cold. Probably because I didn't dry his fur properly after his bath yesterday. Can you drive us to the animal hospital? Just like that, the two of you got into the car together. Serafina seemed a bit more anxious than usual as she started the engine. The whole way, you were petting the shivering Barnaby in your arms. Good boy. You won't feel awful anymore once we get to the hospital. I want hubby to hold me like that, too. Serafina peeked at Barnaby in your arms. Aside from feeling bad for him, she strongly felt envy, jealousy, and hatred. After arriving at the hospital, following the doctor's careful examination, it turned out exactly as you expected, just a cold. So you watched with heartache as Barnaby lay weakly on the hospital bed taking in 4 drip, thinking about how he hadn't eaten anything all morning. You quickly bought a bowl of specially formulated nutritional porridge from the hospital. Then you used a small spoon to feed Barnaby bit by bit, patiently coaxing him. Barnaby, eat a little bit. Once you eat, you'll have energy to go out and play. Seeing this, Serafina quietly pursed her lips. I'm so jealous of Barnaby. I want to be taken care of by hubby, too. I want to eat it, too. But that's dog food, Serafina. You absolute idiot. Hearing this, the hand you were holding the spoon with paused. It took a long while before you could feed the next bite. You were very curious about what exactly was going on in Serafina's brain circuits. At this moment, Serafina reached out a hand, wanting to tease the pitiful little dog, but quickly pulled it back with a shudder, shaking her head, being sick and lying in the hospital. What's there to be jealous of? Hearing this, you turned to glance at Serafina. Her brain circuits were indeed built differently from normal people. After 2.5 hours, the 4 drip was finally finished. Barnaby looked a bit more energetic. Then he actively licked your hand. And you smiled back at him, petting his head. I want to lick hubby's hand, too. I want my head to be petted by hubby, too. I want to. I want to. I want to. If Serafina's glare could kill dogs, Barnaby would have already died a dozen times over. After returning home, you carefully minced some chicken breast and cooked it into a chicken porridge for Barnaby to eat. Perhaps because he had been on N4 for a few hours, Barnaby's appetite had completely returned. He was eating vigorously and happily. Seeing this, Serafina's gaze beside you looked somewhat resentful. Hubby hasn't even cooked for me yet. and that dog is already eating. It made her so mad that she immediately went to the company to prepare for overtime. Watching her retreating back, you smiled a bit helplessly. Why is she getting jealous over a little puppy? Serafina worked overtime straight until 2:30 a.m. She finally finished handling the things on her hands. Even though she was dragging her exhausted body back home, her eyes were exceptionally determined. Because Serafina had already made up her mind since noon. I'm going to freeze myself. I want to get sick, too. I want hubby to personally feed me porridge. So, Serafina sneakily rummaged around in the fridge for supplies. Soon, she brought a basin into the bathroom as she stripped off her clothes. Instantly, her curvy figure and slender waist were exposed to the air. Then, she looked down and realized she couldn't see her toes. She could only see half of the foot basin, and inside it was filled to the brim with ice cubes. The next second, she held her breath, picked up the basin with a look of someone marching toward death. She instantly poured the freezing cold water over her body, even though the chill pierced her bones. She gritted her teeth and firmly pushed through it. After her shower, to make absolutely sure nothing went wrong, Serafina specifically wore a thin nightgown and sat by the window, letting the wind blow on her. In no time at all, she felt her body start to shiver, her head also getting a bit groggy. The next morning, as she expected, she gloriously caught a cold. As you woke up, opened the door, and walked out of the bedroom, the first thing that entered your vision was Serafina curled up sleeping on the sofa. You saw her face was deathly pale. Her breathing also sounded a bit heavy. Seeing this scene, you froze for a moment, then quickly reached out a hand to feel her forehead. Why is she so hot? This was the first time you had observed her from such a close distance. Normally, Serafina mostly had a cold, aloof face, but right now, quietly keeping her eyes closed, she looked much gentler than usual. Perhaps noticing the gaze, the sleepy woman opened her groggy eyes. Hubby, why are you in my bedroom? Her voice was a bit hoarse. Hubby is finally going to make a move on me. He can do it. He can do it. Forget it. I can't. I'm hurting so much right now. My whole body hurts. Hearing this, your eyebrows furrowed. But you still spoke with a gentle tone. You fell asleep on the sofa. How did you end up with a fever? The groggy Serafina looked around, only then reacting to where she was. She immediately turned her head away, muttering softly to herself. It's nothing. Probably just the wind. I absolutely cannot let hubby know that just to get him to take care of me, I literally dumped 2 basins of ice cubes on myself. Learning the truth, your face instantly changed drastically, and Serafina, seeing you suddenly staring at her speechlessly, instantly started brewing with grievances in her heart. Why is hubby looking at me so fiercely? He clearly didn't look at Barnaby like this yesterday. Thinking of this, her eye rims instantly turned red. A few drops of tears slid down along her cheeks. Seeing this, you sighed, then poured a glass of warm water, took some pills, and handed them to her together. Take your medicine first. Finally, the aggrieved Serafina rubbed her eyes and obediently took the medicine. Wow, it tastes awful. I want to throw up. Humans really are treated worse than dogs around here. It pisses me off. When Barnaby gets sick, he's taken care of with soft and gentle words. When I get sick, I get glared at fiercely. The little brother who wanted kisses every day when we were little grew up and doesn't like big sister at all anymore. The more she thought about it, the more wrong she felt. Holding the glass, her tears began to fall again. Seeing this scene, your heart softened and you used your hand to pet her head. Then you raised your head and said to the clearly stunned girl, "Stop crying. Your stomach must be hungry, right? How about I make you some century egg and lean pork porridge?" No need. At this moment, Serafina looked at the gentleness in your eyes again and suddenly didn't want to cry anymore. I'm actually not that hungry. Seeing her looking like this, instantly, you felt incredibly apologetic in your heart. But Serafina had already turned her face away. Being petted on the head by you, she felt like her heart was about to jump out. However, this was only her inner thought, not spoken aloud. So, you had no way of knowing her psychological state at this moment. But you still went to the kitchen, deciding to make her a bowl of century egg and lean pork porridge. A moment later, you walked out carrying a very nice bowl of porridge and said, "It's still a bit hot. Wait for it to cool down before eating." Hearing this, Serafina gently nodded and lowered her head, hiding her still somewhat red eyes, giving off the vibe of a pitiful little puppy. Ugh. If only hubby could feed me, then I would be the happiest little puppy in the world. Hearing her inner voice, you immediately shifted your gaze and thought to yourself, feeding is impossible. If I really fed you, wouldn't that mean I'm treating you like Barnaby too? 0? You are Serafina, my wife. Barnaby is just a dog. However, Serafina, watching the shift in your expression, felt a twinge of sadness in her heart. Instantly, she spoke in a tiny voice, but you aren't feeding me the way you fed Barnaby. I'm sick too. The tremors suddenly ringing in her tone stunned you. Unlike every time before, this time you heard genuine grievance and sorrow in her voice. In a daze, you realized you had ignored her feelings far too often, frequently leaving things unspoken. This lack of clarity left her without a sense of security, which explained why she always let her imagination run wild. Truth be told, you had held a favorable impression of her from the very beginning. Otherwise, you would never have agreed to marry her so quickly. Moreover, you had not forgotten the childhood wish to share a lifetime of marriage with her. Snapping back to reality, you looked at Serafina seriously and said, "When I brought up divorce before, it was because I believed there were no feelings between us. I feared I would hold you back, but now the misunderstanding has been cleared up. So, do you think our promise still stands?" "What promise?" Serafina froze, staring blankly. "Love after marriage." Just 4 simple words. In an instant, Serafina felt her nasal congestion vanish, and the fog lifted from her throbbing head. She immediately propped up her frail body to sit upright on the sofa, her eyes glistening. "Really? Weren't we bound by that agreement?" Hearing her reply, ignoring the slight tremor of your palms, you said, "I always keep my promises strictly." "Where else could you find such a dependable hubby who honors every word he says?" Has the dark cloud finally parted to reveal clear skies? But why did hubby have to say this while I'm under the weather? I'm so happy. So utterly happy. Yet I can't even summon a smile. My body still feels terrible. Sniffle. After the surge of joy, Serafina pouted her lips once more. Her whole frame slumped back against the cushions, gazing at you with a hint of helpless pity. Seeing this sight, you found it faintly amusing. "Have you gone dumb? Why aren't you saying anything?" "I don't feel well. I want the porridge, but my hands have no strength." Once Serafina finished speaking, she gently bit her tender pink lip, staring at you nervously. "Hubby, feed me. Feed me. I want to be fed." So you smiled, patted Serafina's head, then picked up the still warm bowl of porridge resting beside you. You scooped up a small spoonful, held it to your lips, and blew on it softly. Only after the steam faded completely did you gently bring the spoon to Serafina's mouth. "Am I not dreaming? Hubby is so gentle." The next second, Serafina grabbed the bowl and exclaimed excitedly, "I have strength now. I'll eat it myself." With that, she bowed her head and took small bites. What you did not know was that it was not that she did not wish for you to feed her. She was simply afraid that being tended to by your hands would make her blush so fiercely she might pass out. "The porridge hubby makes tastes amazing. I'm going to finish every single drop." Just as she drowned in this moment of bliss, you suddenly opened your mouth to ask, "Sarah, did you ever come back searching for me?" This matter weighed heavily on her heart. Now that the two of you were set to stay together, all lingering doubts needed to be laid to rest. Snapping back to the present, Serafina froze. "I did. After I returned to the country, I went to Leaf Orphanage, but it no longer existed. I asked countless people, yet nobody knew where you had gone. Then how did you recognize it was me?" "I didn't know at first. It was Thorn. He heard I was being pressured into an arranged marriage. So he came to me and said he had a good friend who was handsome, outstanding, and came from a simple household. Absolutely no conflicts between mother-in-law and daughter-in-law." Speaking of this, Serafina still felt a little embarrassed. She hurried to explain, "I turned him down at first, but then he showed me your photograph. I knew it was you the second I laid eyes on it. You look exactly the same as you did as a child, merely grown proportionally larger." Hearing her answer, you replied awkwardly, "I only vaguely recalled an older sister who treated me kindly back then. I remembered saying I wanted to wait for her, but I was only 4 years old at the time. I could no longer clearly picture that sister's face. Later on, the orphanage caught fire. The archive room burned to the ground entirely. All of us were separated and sent to different orphanages, yet everything I told you before our marriage was the truth. Upon hearing this, Serafina pressed her lips tightly together. Memories of the past stung her eyes. For the man standing right before her had been her only ray of light within the orphanage. Especially the image of you trotting behind her, calling her big sister, demanding kisses and declaring your wish to marry her. Recalling this, she murmured silently to herself, "After wandering through life and meeting so many people, we still found one another and even got married. This must be fate. Hubby is my destined person." Hearing Serafina's inner voice, you slowly stretched out your hand and stroked her head. "I really ought to have recognized you sooner. Then we would never have come close to getting divorced." Hearing your words, Serafina tilted her head slightly and smiled. "As long as we do not divorce, everything is fine. Yes, it is time for sweet married life with hubby." With that thought, the smile tugging at the corner of her mouth grew wider and wider. Realizing this expression clashed with her usual demeanor, she forced herself to calm her features and hold the grin back. Seeing this, you could not help but speak. "Actually, Thorne's description of my preferences was far from accurate. That was just idle chatter between friends. There is no need for you to strain yourself just to cater to me. I hope you can always be your genuine self. After all, we are meant to spend a lifetime side by side. He wants to stay with me for a lifetime. We are going to be together forever." Watching Serafina finally drop her pretense and reveal a bashful smile, you smiled along with her. Unsure if it was because she had just taken medicine, you noticed weariness settling over Serafina's face. You told her to head back to the bedroom to rest first while you planned to prepare a hearty feast. When mealtime arrived, Serafina showed no sign of waking up. Only after you knocked on the door to remind her did she shuffle out yawning, still drowsy. Meanwhile, you walked out of the kitchen carrying an aromatic soup pot. At the sight, Serafina quickly trotted over, took a seat, sniffed the air, and said, "Phew, it smells incredible. My hubby is so amazing." Hearing this, you ladled a bowl for her, handed it over, and smiled. "Have some more. There is plenty left in the pot." Before you could finish your sentence, Serafina had already taken the bowl and begun eating. Delicious. Delicious. The girl's eyes lit up instantly. Looking at Serafina, who acted nothing like her normally aloof self, you smiled fondly. "Take another dose of medicine later, and you should recover. Taking excessive medication is bad for your health." Hearing this, Serafina nodded obediently, appearing extremely cooperative on the surface. Yet her inner thoughts whispered, "I will swallow anything as long as hubby feeds it to me. Even if hubby gave me a potion that turns me into a fool, I would still eat it." The next morning, Serafina drove you to the university. As she prepared to depart, she looked reluctant to let you go and mumbled, "I will try my best not to work overtime today. Can you wait for me so we can have dinner together tonight?" Hearing this, you smiled and nodded. "Yay! From now on, I get to enjoy sweet dinners with hubby every single day. I feed you one bite. You feed me one bite. Our relationship will advance another step forward. Bye-bye." The thought made her far too shy to say it aloud. She could only shout it silently inside her heart. "Bye-bye, hubby." As her words faded, Serafina started the car, leaving only her taillights behind. Watching Serafina's cute antics, you could not help but smile. Then you checked the time and headed toward the university examination hall. For today marked your final graduation exam for the law department. When you returned home that evening, Serafina had already prepared 3 dishes and a soup, waiting for you at the dining table. Once you sat down and took a bite, you immediately exclaimed in praise, "This is the first time I've tasted your cooking. I never imagined your culinary skills would be this outstanding." I received praise. I learned through an app. Watching the tutorials, it seemed fairly straightforward. Serafina smiled bashfully. Seeing this, you wore a faint smile on the surface, yet your heart felt a strange mix of sourness and sweetness. It was hard to picture the elegant, distant Serafina, with her slender fingers, enduring cooking fumes in the kitchen just to learn how to prepare meals. As if sensing your thoughts, Serafina blinked and said, "Since you finished your exams today, would you like a little wine to celebrate?" Hearing this, you teased her in reply. "You aren't planning to slip something into my drink again, are you? How could I possibly do that?" Serafina retorted instantly, yet her cheeks flushed involuntarily. "Hubby is so mean." Faced with Serafina's puppy dog eyes, you walked over to the wine cabinet and selected a bottle of wine. Meanwhile, she cheered and hurried to the kitchen to fetch glasses. Afterwards, Serafina trimmed a few roses and placed them in a vase on the dining table, while you quietly checked the time. Some 10 minutes later, the two of you took your first sip of wine. Perhaps influenced by the alcohol, Serafina was unusually talkative today. Let me tell you, I met a client today who immediately got into a brawl with another person inside the mediation room. Nobody could separate them. It terrified me. In the end, security had to intervene. You watched Serafina speak with animated expressions, her hands gesturing constantly, the corner of your mouth slightly raised as you listened intently. Then you paused for a moment and asked, "Did you get hurt?" "No, I'm extremely quick-witted." The moment the fight broke out, I moved to the side right away. A male lawyer beside me tried to stop it and somehow got slapped across the face. His cheek stayed swollen the entire afternoon. Serafina lifted her chin a little proudly. Hearing this, you looked at her, caught between laughter and exasperation. At that very moment, Serafina shook her wine glass, gazing at you expectantly, and said, "Would you like to come visit our law firm?" The unexpected question caught you off guard for a second. Seeing your expression, Serafina quickly added, "Just a casual visit." After a brief hesitation, you nodded. Yay! Phase 1 of my plan is a success. Sweet commutes to and from work alongside hubby are right around the corner. Instantly, you thought speechlessly to yourself, all right. So this is the game we are playing. The next day, you followed Serafina to her workplace. Perhaps because she was in her familiar working environment, she appeared exceptionally confident and composed, radiating the quiet aura of a powerful, independent woman. Our law firm isn't bad, right? Would you consider joining our firm? Then we could be together every single day. Instantly, the corner of your mouth tugged into an almost imperceptible curve. Just then, a middle-aged woman walked toward you. "Lawyer Lena, a client has specifically requested you." She is already waiting inside the conference room. Hearing this, Serafina nodded. Shifting back into work mode, she looked extraordinarily mature and charming. But when she turned back toward you, her expression softened completely. "Could you wait inside my office for a little while?" she asked in a gentle, tender voice. And so you stepped into Serafina's office. Her workspace was neat and tidy. On the desk rested your marriage registration photograph. You picked it up for a closer look. Instantly, the corners of your mouth lifted gently. The photo had not turned out well back then because everything had been rushed. Both of your smiles had felt forced. Your train of thought was interrupted by a knock on the door. After a moment's pause, you replied, "Please come in." The next second, a young, attractive woman with refined makeup appeared within your sight. "Are you Lawyer Lin?" "I'm not. I'm also waiting for her." "Oh my, what a handsome man." "It's fine. All lawyers are similar. It just so happens my father introduced me to Lawyer Lin, but I could easily switch over to you instead." As she finished speaking, the woman stepped closer to you. Realizing the visitor was Serafina's client, you politely poured her a glass of water and handed it to her. Unexpectedly, her gaze grew even more direct as she spoke. "Working out here, your salary cannot be all that high, can it? It is incredibly difficult to put down roots in a large city like this. The litigation fee for my case is substantial. Would you be interested in it?" You had barely exchanged 2 sentences with her when the woman slid her small foot against your trouser leg. Seeing this, you quickly pulled back, your brows furrowing. "What are you doing?" However, the next instant, you turned your head and saw Serafina's face frosted over. How dare she flirt with my hubby inside my own office, and she did not even close the door. Wait, that is not the main point. The real issue is that she is making advances toward my hubby. Why? Even I haven't gotten the chance to flirt with hubby yet. Following that, Serafina coughed softly. At the sound, the woman glanced at Serafina and asked, "Are you Lawyer Lin?" Hearing this, Serafina nodded coldly. After the two exchanged several brief sentences, the woman tossed one last wink at you, then twisted her mature, alluring figure and walked away. Witnessing this scene, Serafina gave you a light shove with her small hand. Seeing this, you stood dumbfounded, unsure what was going on. "What's wrong?" "I don't know." With that, Serafina sat down heavily in her chair, her little mouth pouted. Then she thought for a second and added, "You attract bees and butterflies everywhere you go." You spread your hands helplessly, feigning innocence. "I didn't do anything at all. I want to hide hubby away so only I can look at him." Only I am allowed to like him. Hearing this, you smiled helplessly. You then walked over to the bookshelf in her office, picked up a book, and began to flip through its pages. Why hasn't he come to comfort me yet? Serafina immediately felt a surge of grievance. Then she gritted her teeth, enunciating every single word clearly. I am jealous right now. When those words left her lips, you froze for 2.5 seconds, then simply said, "Oh." Shortly after, you lowered your head again, continuing to read the case file, pretending not to understand whom she was addressing. My world only belongs to Sarah. Upon hearing those words, Serafina's ears turned red instantly. Hubby is far too skilled at flirting. I'm so flustered. Hearing this, you kept your head lowered, silently curling the corners of your lips. Finish your work first. Let's have hot pot together once we get home tonight. After you said that, you naturally settled onto the sofa, book in hand, lowering your head to read. Meanwhile, Serafina replied, okay, the corners of her mouth slightly raised. Hubby actually remembers that hot pot is my favorite food. He is absolutely wonderful. Sure enough, our feelings are completely mutual. That night when you arrived home, you stood in the kitchen preparing hot pot ingredients while Serafina lingered beside you, staring at you blankly. For some reason, a special emotion surged from the bottom of Serafina's heart in that split second. You truly are the best. With that, she spread her arms and could not help but charge straight at you, while you still clutched a bottle of aged vinegar in your hand. Instantly, horror crossed your face and you shouted, "Stop! Stop! Stop! Wait!" Before you could finish speaking, the girl had already crashed into your embrace. The next second, you stumbled and nearly fell. Thankfully, your stance was steady. All those workouts had not been in vain. Afterwards, you could not help clicking your tongue. Good grief! Could you be a little more rational? Yet the moment you finished speaking, you felt soft curves pressing tightly against your chest. Her head rubbed comfortably against you. She huffed against your chest. I was never a rational person to begin with. Her breathing was rapid, likely from nervousness. The two of your heartbeats pressed together, beating in unison. Instantly, you felt a little flustered. I'm so happy. As Serafina's warm breath brushed your ear, your heart itched, and you reached out to gently stroke Serafina's head. At this moment, the air was thick with ambiguous atmosphere. Right then, Barnaby ran over, jumping back and forth around your feet, tilting his doggy head and watching curiously. Seeing this, the corner of your mouth twitched. Do you want to stand up first? It isn't appropriate for Barnaby to see this. Only then did Serafina crawl off you, looking reluctant to separate, and shot a resentful glare at Barnaby. Stupid dog. A little while later, the moment you set the hot pot on the dining table, you heard Serafina's inner voice again. Hot pot. Hot pot. Hubby made hot pot for me. Hubby and I share a telepathic bond. We are a match made in heaven. Seeing her reaction, a smile tugged at your lips involuntarily. Wait a moment. Let the broth come to a boil before we dig in. With that, you stood up, fetched freshly squeezed iced orange juice from the refrigerator, and poured a glass for her. Serafina took the cup with both hands, tilted her head back, took a sip, and let out a long breath. There's even my favorite freshly squeezed iced orange juice. Hubby treats me so well. I have no way to repay him except to offer myself to him. I hope hubby won't turn me down tonight. Hearing this, the corner of your mouth twitched. Your own wife was plotting to steal your innocence. Once the broth began to boil, Serafina picked up her chopsticks, grabbed a beef slice, and took a small bite. Instantly, an expression of amazed wonder crossed her face. So delicious, even better than hot pot restaurants outside. Faced with her obvious exaggerated praise, you let out a laugh. It's not that amazing. However, Serafina's eyes looked extremely earnest. Hubby's cooking is #1 in the whole world. Don't try to persuade me otherwise. Don't get used to me cooking delicious meals for you all the time, you teased with a smile. When those words fell, Serafina shook her head quickly. That's not it at all. It really is this tasty, and I'm not someone who likes lying, right? You definitely hate lying. Why does it feel like hubby's remark is mocking me? It must be an illusion. Just an illusion. After that, Serafina's gaze turned extremely determined. I never liked lying from the start. Hearing this, you nodded. The next second, you stroked Barnaby at your feet, rubbing his neck gently. Then you smiled without saying a word. Ah, maybe it wasn't an illusion. Could he have found the collar? Instantly, Serafina pouted her lips, feeling a little depressed. After dinner, Serafina tidied the leftovers on the table obediently. Then she huffed and puffed as she washed the pots and dishes. Originally you wanted to go help, but she stopped you. She said cooking was already tough enough. Let her handle the cleanup. A family has to learn to share burdens if they want to go the distance together. Hearing Serafina put it that way, you could only lie comfortably on the sofa, petting the dog and watching television. Once Serafina finished her chores, she sat obediently beside you to watch TV too, yet her eyes drifted toward you every now and then. I want hubby to join our law firm. How should I bring it up? Will hubby dislike the idea? I would be his boss. At work, I am the boss. After work, I am his little puppy. That actually sounds pretty nice. After pondering for a while, she opened her mouth. If you pass the exam, which law firm do you plan to go to? Serafina's voice was soft, carrying a hint of probing. Hearing this, you thought seriously for a moment before replying. I haven't decided yet, but I definitely want a large law firm. After all, a bigger platform offers more room for growth, and I can take on all sorts of cases. Then would you consider Kungshin Law Firm? It's one of the top firms in H City right now. We handle all types of cases. Seeing your gaze fixed on the news, not replying for a long time, she quietly slid her slender legs closer to you. The next moment, you were utterly stunned to feel a smooth, delicate foot step onto you. It was still covered by stockings, slippery to the touch. As Serafina's small foot rubbed against you little by little, it felt as if she was draining your self-control. What exactly is she trying to do? Will hubby like my feet? Even though Serafina's inner thoughts were full of ambiguous hints, her tone remained extremely serious and professional. I know you want to rely on your own abilities, but before you obtain your official lawyer license, you cannot take cases independently. You must have a mentor to guide you. As she spoke, her body slowly leaned against yours. Instantly, the pleasant fragrance of her body wash filled your nostrils. The next second, you stiffened slightly, feeling unnatural. Wouldn't it be great if I were your mentor? Serafina blinked her innocent eyes. Would hubby like this kind of older sister mentor? Even though her breath brushing your face tickled you, you pretended there were no fluctuations inside your heart at all. Let's wait until the results come out. Be a good girl and sit still to watch television. Finally, Serafina had no choice but to straighten up, her soft pink lips pouting with a hint of resentment. Hubby is mean. How can he remain completely unmoved? Am I truly lacking any charm? Watching her sink into self-doubt, a casual smile appeared on the corner of your mouth. Serafina suddenly grabbed your arm with her small hands and shook it gently. Her tone carried a soft, whiny, coquettish flavor. Please come to my law firm, okay? She had the face and figure of an elder sister, yet the heart of a soft, cute, clingy little girl. You raised an eyebrow and still insisted you would wait until the exam results were released. Instantly, Serafina deflated on the sofa like a popped balloon. Hubby is mean. Hubby cannot be persuaded at all. Before you knew it, it was already quite late. You glanced at the wall clock and said you were heading back to your room to sleep. However, as you pushed the door open, you paused for a moment, then turned to look at Serafina and said, Kungshin has an excellent reputation in the industry. I will consider it seriously. After saying that, you pushed the door open, stepped inside, and casually closed it behind you, leaving Serafina frozen on the spot. Who said hubby can't be persuaded? Yes. Hubby is absolutely amazing. Hubby is the best hubby in the whole world. Back in the bedroom, you laid on the bed with your eyes tightly shut. Your mind was completely filled with images of Serafina rubbing you with her small foot and her peach blossom face acting coquettishly. A mentor? Huh? That might not be entirely out of the question. The next day, the two of you went to the law firm together again. This time, however, she did not take you around to visit other areas, but brought you straight to a meeting room. Someone was already waiting inside, an old acquaintance. It was the same woman who had rubbed her foot against your leg in Serafina's office previously. She still wore her usual seductive outfit and exquisite makeup. When she saw you again, her eyes lit up, yet she spoke to Serafina. Lawyer Lin, I've been waiting for you for a long time. As Serafina nodded, the two began discussing case details. You found an empty chair, sat down, and listened carefully. Half an hour later, a knock on the door interrupted their conversation. Lawyer Lin, Lawyer Guo needs to speak with you about something. Hearing this, Serafina glanced hesitantly at the two people in the room. Finally, she spoke. Wait a moment. I'll be right back. As she said this, she turned, pushed open the door, and left. Yet the next second, the woman's expression shifted. Her gaze grew soft and alluring, as if water might drip from her eyes. She slid over to sit beside you and said, "It's so hot." With that, she reached out and took off her jacket, revealing smooth white shoulders. Afterwards, she fanned herself gently with one hand and crossed her legs. With a click, her high heel slipped onto the floor for some unknown reason. Shortly after, a soft little foot stepped onto your calf. Oh my, did I kick you and hurt you? The next second, you stood up quickly and spoke in an impatient tone. What are you doing? I'm apologizing. The woman lifted her seductive eyes, staring at you provocatively. This is my little foot's way of apologizing to you. Are you Lawyer Lin's assistant? Hearing this, you said flatly, no, I'm her husband. What? Instantly, the woman shuddered in shock. She had only intended to tease the young man, never expecting he was actually the attorney's husband. She quickly sat back in her original seat, tugged at the front of her clothes, and forced an awkward smile. By the time Serafina returned, she saw the woman without her jacket, dressed extremely revealingly. This made it impossible for her to stop her imagination from running wild. The next second, Serafina shot you a resentful glare, always attracting bees and butterflies. Hearing this, you felt utterly speechless, yet you could only silently plead your innocence inside your heart. After the two briefly finalized the direction of the case and prepared to leave, the woman leaned close to Serafina and whispered, "Your husband is quite handsome. I don't need you to tell me that my hubby is handsome to begin with." Wait, how did she find out he's my hubby? Then Serafina stole a glance at you, and the corners of her mouth instantly rose. Hubby took the initiative to tell someone I am his wife. When work ended, you walked side by side. In a daze, Serafina's small hand kept accidentally brushing the back of yours. I want to hold hubby's hand, but in reality, she kept lifting her hand time and again, wanting to grasp yours, only to pull it back at the last second. Hearing Serafina's inner struggle, you could not help but find it a little amusing. Just as she was about to open her mouth to speak, you suddenly reached out and took Serafina's small hand, gripping it tightly in yours. Hubby is holding my hand. Instantly, she looked down at your intertwined fingers, then happily swung your joined hands back and forth, tilting her head to smile at you. Seeing her fair, tender cheeks flush red, a smile naturally appeared on your face too. The next day, you were happily hugging Barnaby, drinking iced cola and watching television. Your phone suddenly rang. After you pressed answer, Thorne's loud, excited voice came through the earpiece. The exam results are out. Haven't you checked? I passed. Hearing this, you paused for a second. I forgot. I haven't checked yet. I checked for you. You got the highest score. Oh, so just standard steady performance. You're such a show-off. After he finished speaking, the beep of the disconnected call sounded in your ear. Learning the results put you in an excellent mood. You planned to treat yourself to something nice today. Around 5 in the afternoon, you were lounging on the sofa watching TV when you heard the front door open. The next second, Serafina appeared before you carrying several shopping bags. Come quickly. I bought a few sets of clothes for you. I'm not sure if they will fit. Hearing her voice, you stood up blankly, then smiled. They look great. I'll go try them on. What made you think of buying me clothes? Instantly, a warm current flowed through your heart. I heard from Thorne that you passed your qualification exam. I definitely had to buy you some nice outfits to look sharp. At Serafina's urging, you took off your short-sleeved t-shirt, preparing to put on the white button-up shirt. Wow, how can his body be this good? Hubby's abs. Slurp slurp. The lines are truly amazing. Serafina rejoiced secretly while the corner of your mouth twitched. By the time you finished trying on all the clothes, Serafina had already taken countless photos and never seemed to grow tired of it. The next day, you headed to the shopping mall and picked out a long white dress, then stopped by a florist to buy a bouquet of flowers. When Serafina arrived home, she immediately spotted the lilies on the table. Instantly, undisguised joy shone in her eyes. For me? With that, she picked them up and took a sniff. At this moment, the scene seemed frozen into the most beautiful snapshot of light and shadow. Instantly, you were a little stunned. Watching her surprised expression, a faint twinge tugged at your heart. Do you like them? Hearing this, she answered without hesitation. I love them. There's another gift too. It wasn't expensive, but once I start working, I'll buy you other things. As she spoke, you tilted your chin toward the shopping bag on the table. When Serafina opened it, she found the long white dress. Afterwards, she walked up to you, suddenly spread her arms and demanded, "Hug me. Right now, immediately, this second, I demand a hug." Urged by her inner voice, you reached out and wrapped your arms around her waist. Instantly, your nose filled with the rich, mature fragrance of her body. It smelled wonderful, the kind of scent that grows faintly addictive, like a drug. As long as it's something you give me, even a wild weed picked off the street, I would still cherish it. After saying that, Serafina let go of you excitedly, ready to go try on the new dress. Suddenly, the corner of your eye drifted downwards and landed right at the collar of Serafina's white button-up shirt. She only wore that single thin layer, and the top button of the shirt was undone. From this angle, you could catch a clear glimpse of cleavage. At that exact moment, Serafina suddenly turned to look at you and said, "Are you staring at my figure?" Hearing this, the corner of your mouth twitched and your ears burned hot. It felt just like getting caught reading an inappropriate magazine by your homeroom teacher. But before you could recover from your daze, Serafina pushed you straight back onto the sofa, making you stumble into a seated position. Want to feel the texture? If it's hubby, I don't mind. Serafina, you've grown far bolder lately. That's right, exactly like this. Capturing hubby is right around the corner. Hearing this, your eyes widened in shock, yet your hands slowly began to lift upwards. However, the next second, Serafina struck first, reaching out to touch your abs. At that single touch, blood rushed straight to your head. Even your nose felt warm. By the time you wanted to retaliate, Serafina had already darted away quickly. You actually made a move on me. Finally, your hand hung suspended in midair, looking a little awkward. I'm going to try on the new dress. With that, she ignored your reaction and ran straight into the room to change. How to win hubby's heart. Give him a little sweetness, then take it away. Keep doing this, and hubby will become completely addicted, unable to pull away. You watched her retreating back and silently lowered your hand, left wanting more. When Serafina finished changing and came out, the dress fit her perfectly. The long white dress accentuated a waist so slender it could barely be wrapped in one hand. Her hair cascaded over her shoulders and down her back. You were so captivated you could not look away. Does it look good? As she said this, she lifted a hand to brush her hair, her eyes full of quiet expectation. You paused for a second and replied, "You look beautiful in anything." After all, girls always seem to enjoy hearing words like these. Hubby is praising me again. That night, when you were about to head back to your bedroom to sleep, Serafina seemed to remember something. "I have a court trial tomorrow. Would you like to come sit in the public gallery?" Looking at Serafina's blinking expectant eyes, you thought it over. You had no work, so you might as well go watch the trial. It sounded quite interesting. So the next day, you sat in the public gallery waiting for the trial to officially begin. This trial was also being live-streamed online. What's the name of this female lawyer? She's far too pretty, isn't she? People in the gallery could not help turning their gazes toward her. Today, Serafina wore glasses specially to appear more solemn, looking extremely professional. Even though she only wore a simple white button-up shirt and black suit skirt, it could not hide her stunning figure. Hubby came to watch me in court. I'm even more nervous now. What do I do? What do I do? Calm down, Serafina. It's nothing big. You faced far greater matters before. 10 minutes later, the trial began. You originally only planned to observe and casually see how your wife performed in court. But you did not expect Serafina to counter the opposing lawyer while secretly casting glances toward you. She even muttered inside her heart, "Do I look extremely charming at work? Today I'm going for a mature professional style. I wonder if hubby will like it." Just like that, beneath your admiring gaze, Serafina handled multiple things at once and still won the case. However, just as you were about to stand up and walk over to Serafina, a man blocked your path from behind. Shortly after, you heard the voices of other law students behind you. Lawyer Lin is truly beautiful. Watching her in court is always a pleasure. The young man beside him nodded in agreement. Dudley has guts. He confesses every time and gets rejected every single time. Overhearing the gossip, you could not help looking at the man standing in front of Serafina. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes, appearing gentle and scholarly, yet his eyes stared fixedly at Serafina. Serafina felt annoyed every time she saw Dudley. He showed up at every one of her trials like a total creep. Nobody knew where he kept finding her trial schedules. When Serafina finished packing her documents and prepared to walk past him, Dudley opened his mouth. Lawyer Lin, I like you. Can you be with me? The moment those words left his lips, the people nearby who had not yet left began whispering to one another. Instantly, Serafina's face turned cold, her eyes icy as she said, I have already told you, I have a husband. As she spoke, she lifted her slender, beautiful right hand. A diamond ring sat on her ring finger. Then she walked over to you, linked her arm through yours, and left directly, leaving Dudley ashen-faced with rage. You had wanted to see how Serafina would handle this situation. You never expected her to walk straight over and link arms with you to leave. Will hubby think I attract too many suitors? I don't know what's wrong with people these days. They stick to you like a plaster. Luckily, hubby is here. I get scared every time I see him. His eyes always feel strangely creepy. Hearing this, you glanced down at your side blankly. Serafina clung to your arm, swinging it now and then. She was clearly in a wonderful mood. I won the case and chased away the annoying guy. I'm so happy. Time to reward myself by sleeping beside hubby tonight. Yep. She loved making bold plans in her inner thoughts, even if she acted timid and reserved in reality. Still, the corners of your mouth rose uncontrollably. The two of you walked arm in arm, an impeccably matched couple. At this moment, you finally noticed nearly every passerby could not help glancing at Serafina. Is my own wife really this popular? It makes sense that she draws admiration from everyone. Serafina is incredibly beautiful. She has an amazing figure. Her top-tier family background gives her an aura that makes others look up to her. It is completely normal to attract attention. If you could not hear her whimpering inner voice, you would also feel quite a lot of pressure. However, before you could walk out of the courthouse entrance, you heard hurried footsteps coming from behind. When you turned to look, sure enough, it was that same young man. Seeing it was Dudley again, Serafina's brows drew tightly together, her eyes turning ice cold. So annoying. So annoying. I was having sweet, happy time with hubby. Why is he back again? Lawyer Lin, I have something I need to say to you. After speaking, his gaze rested on you for several seconds, signaling for you to leave. Naturally, you understood his intention, yet you did not move. What on earth? He intends to openly confess to my wife right in front of me. What is he thinking? Zero self-awareness at all. The next second, Serafina frowned and scolded sharply. I have already made myself perfectly clear. Please stop harassing me. At the same time, she murmured inside her heart, hurry up and leave. Stop interrupting hubby and me from sharing sweet words. With that, she tugged your arm, ready to take a step forward and depart. Seeing Serafina attempting to leave, Dudley quickly reached out to grab her arm. But the next second, your sharp eyes and quick reflexes blocked him. He never even touched her. Afterwards, you wrapped one arm around Serafina's shoulder and said, "This is a courthouse. Keep your hands to yourself. If you continue harassing my wife, I will sue you for stalking." Serafina froze for a moment at first. Then the corners of her mouth curved wildly, impossible to hold back. Dudley beside you was also stunned for a moment. Then his face flushed red and he stammered, I will wait until you get divorced. We will never divorce. We are going to spend a lifetime together. Serafina replied very quickly, her tone firm and unshakable. He called me his wife. I love that title. When we get home, I'm going to push hubby against the door and kiss him. Yes, we will never divorce. As she spoke, you paid no attention to the other man's reaction. You kept your arm around Serafina's shoulder and walked out. And Serafina, hearing what you said, her face filled with shock and delighted emotion. The upward curve of her lips could not be restrained at all. Looking at her brightly shining eyes, just like a small child, you gazed at her fondly for a long time. Back home, you took off your shoes and changed into slippers. A thought suddenly crossed your mind.
Don't cry.
The reason Serafina asked you to accompany her to court yesterday was that she had actually been a little afraid. After all, every time she appeared in court, that man harassed her. No matter how many times she rejected him, he kept showing up. Thinking of this, you reached out helplessly, stroked Serafina's head, and said, "Was it because of this man that you asked me to sit in the gallery yesterday?" When Serafina nodded, a dull ache twisted your heart. "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" "It's fine. Inside the courthouse, he can't do anything to me," Serafina replied in a muffled voice. "Hubby was busy with school before. I didn't want to distract you with these trivial matters. I'm being a good girl, and things are perfect right now. Hubby isn't busy anymore and has time to stay with me. I will also put family first. Nobody can stop hubby and me from being together." Listening to her comfort herself inside her heart and casually make excuses for you, it was clear she was quite skilled at this. It seemed she truly could not endure that man's harassment any longer this time. Otherwise, she would not have invited you along to assert your relationship. Who knew how long this little fool had endured it just so she would not trouble you? Instantly, a sour feeling welled up in your chest. The next second, you grabbed her arm and pulled her into your embrace. "If anything happens from now on, you can tell me directly. We are husband and wife. There is no need to hide things. Hubby is so gentle. I love hubby even more today. Then, can I kiss you?" Serafina blurted it out without thinking. Before you could react, you saw the girl stand on her tiptoes. Then you felt those soft lips land lightly on your cheek. Afterwards, she pulled away quickly and ran back into the bedroom, stumbling halfway and nearly tripping. Watching her back, your hand subconsciously touched the cheek that had been kissed. It felt a little warm. Instantly, the corners of your mouth lifted. "Didn't you say you were going to push me against the door and kiss me when we got home? Why only one kiss and then run away?" After the two of you finished dinner, you took the initiative to hold her hand and suggested going to watch a movie. Speaking of which, the two of you had never been to a cinema together. Not one proper formal date since getting married. "Okay, what movie are we watching?" "Watching a movie with hubby." "Does this count as a date? Is today a date?" "I'm so happy. What do you want to watch?" Serafina thought for a moment and said directly, "Hubby, don't be scared. I'll protect you. You can leap straight into my arms." Hearing this, you raised an eyebrow. "Let's pick a romance movie. Pleasant Goat and Big Big Wolf." I checked the ratings, they are quite high. Serafina generally had no opinions when it came to your requests. So you soon arrived at the cinema. After buying the tickets, you suddenly said you needed to use the restroom and turned to leave. Serafina sat obediently on the cinema sofa waiting for you to return. Not long after, you reappeared in front of Serafina holding a bouquet of flowers. The moment you handed her the flowers, undisguised joy shone in the woman's eyes. "For me?" "Yeah, how can a date be complete without flowers?" As you spoke, you reached out and wrapped an arm around her waist. "Why are you treating me so well today?" Serafina could not help asking. Hearing this, you smiled and said, "Isn't treating you well exactly what I ought to do? Now I'm going to take you to experience all the things normal couples do." Hearing your cheesy line, Serafina's mental defenses crumbled instantly. Her eyes grew watery. Since it was not the weekend, there were very few people in the cinema. Because of this, you bought seats in the very last row. Usually, men and women sitting in the last row of a cinema always end up doing something to live up to romantic drama expectations. Just thinking about it made Serafina's heart ripple. Last row of the cinema. It's pitch black in here. If I kiss hubby, nobody should see, right? As the movie plot reached a kissing scene, the sweet atmosphere peaked at almost the same time. You both turned your heads, and your gazes collided. Following that, you took the initiative to kiss her soft, full lips. You really are a bad boy. The kiss lasted a very long time, so long that both of your breathing grew uneven, yet neither of you could bear to pull away. Until the cinema lights suddenly switched on. The two of you jumped apart as if electrocuted. The moment you turned your heads, you met the awkward gaze of the cleaning lady. But Serafina and you were even more embarrassed. I'm dying of embarrassment. The next second, you both stood up in a panic, tidying your clothes. You held her hand, slipped past the cleaning lady, and ran out of the cinema. Neither of your heartbeats had calmed down yet. Then you lifted a hand, pinched the bridge of your nose, and could not help laughing out loud. Seeing this, Serafina's face flushed bright red with embarrassment. What are you laughing at? Hubby is a bad boy, but I kind of like it. After returning home, the two of you originally wanted to continue that sweet kiss. Unexpectedly, a puppy's bark reached your ears. Then you felt weight on your body, and a furry creature climbed your back to your shoulder and licked your face. When you turned to look, you saw Barnaby staring at you both with wide innocent eyes. He had no idea what Mom and Dad were doing, he just wanted to play too. Seeing this scene, you looked at him with amusement, then climbed off Serafina, picked Barnaby up, and tossed him into the garden to play by himself. Then you turned back to Serafina. Stupid dog, ruining my good moment. But just as you wanted to continue, Barnaby ran back inside from the garden, circling your feet constantly. Finally, you had no choice but to walk over and stroke Barnaby's doggy head, your eyes carrying a faint, helpless, fond smile. Hubby, you're a hooligan, touching everywhere. The girl's voice held a deliberate smile, soft and squishy. Hearing this, you waggled your eyebrows at Serafina. Keep tempting me, and I might spank your bottom. Then I would like that even more. Barnaby wants to go out for a walk. Want to come along? Sure. Wait for me a moment. I'll go change. With that, Serafina turned and walked into the bedroom. When she came out, she had changed into a simple short-sleeved t-shirt and tight jeans. And when you came out, you happened to be wearing exactly the same outfit. Instantly, the two of you smiled at each other without a word. Matching outfits turned out to be quite nice. Then you put a leash on Barnaby, packed his water in poop bags. The prospect of going outside to play made Barnaby extremely excited, his tail wagging at lightning speed. Seeing Mom and Dad still not coming out, Barnaby barked a few times, looking a little anxious. Bad dog ruining my good time and now rushing me. Seeing this sight, you smiled. A little while later, Serafina naturally linked arms with you and you headed outside. At this hour, the neighborhood was completely quiet at night. Neatly arranged street lamps cast blurry warm yellow circles of light. The shadows of roadside trees swayed. Flowers and shrubs rustled as they danced in the wind. In a daze, a light, cheerful inner voice sounded. Going out for evening walks is actually quite pleasant. If I can walk like this with hubby every day, I'm happy to get kissed by him every day too. Hearing this, you nodded. The night breeze was cool, brushing gently against your face, relaxing you completely. Serafina looked up and noticed the bright full moon hanging in the night sky. Then she tilted her head, looking at you expectantly and said, "Hubby, can we come out for walks like this often from now on?" Sure. An hour later, you glanced at the time and saw it was getting late. You immediately called Barnaby back, then held Serafina's hand and walked toward home. Back home, you both went to your separate bedrooms to shower. By the time Serafina emerged, you were already in your pajamas sitting on the sofa watching television. At that moment, Serafina walked over and sat down on your lap. You took in the thin, cool silk slip dress she was wearing.